Welcome to Raw Revelations. I'm Joseph Montgomery, certified health coach here, talking about mood balance and tonic herbalism. So we're going to be broadcasting tonight. Thank you so much for everybody who's joining and viewing this recording at a later date. For everybody who's here, it's going to be a taste extravaganza. The big thing we find for a lot of people is their comfort level and the confidence in terms of mixing something that maybe they don't know what they're doing. That's the part that everybody needs to get pushed over the little edge of the nest and kind of be able to fly in a tonic-free sort of way. Because really, it's all good. It's just figuring out what happens to you whenever you actually do experience tonics. So there is a second page to the handout that was there today. It actually focuses. Evelyn, you didn't get yours. Can I grab another set of the handouts for today? Allows us to kind of quickly jot down some notes regarding the actual mixtures that we have here for everybody to kind of see what they're going to do so they can go home and with confidence be able to mix one of these materials up and start to be a little more focused with your tonics. It's unique because tonics are different than protein shakes, which are different than smoothies, which are different than just tea, which are different, than like an all-in-one. Some of these sort of grab-and-go shakes, meal replacements, things of that nature. And it's because of what's the content and how it's prepared. That's the biggest difference. Tonics themselves involve herbs as being the medicine versus the idea of being bulk calories. That's the biggest change and difference. And you're taking a little bit of an approach of treating your body in a particular way and creating an effect. Technically speaking, you could take the same protein shake 5 times a day and probably not feel all that much different. But when you work with the tonic, the unique thing is that if you pick up a calming, very relaxing, very wonderful tonic versus an energizing tonic, there's going to be a distinctive difference in the body. So these relationships are what we're trying to establish with this best understanding. So tonight will be full of questions, please, as much as possible. I want everyone to experience this in whatever way they need to in order to get the details and kind of understand where we are, what we're doing. But as we start all of our evenings, we're going to be doing our conscious breathing exercise in order to get things started off on the right foot. So for everybody who's new here, the way we're going to be doing this is we're going to be taking a very elongated breath in, 7 seconds of a count, and then exhaling 8 seconds out in order to actually create a full lung cycle. We'll do that twice, and then we'll do 30 seconds of just space and, giving everybody the ability just to be present here for this evening, and then we'll move forward with all the other great lecture material. So one of the nice things, again, whenever you're doing conscious breathing is be as involved in the process as possible. So the idea for a lot of people is to put their actual hand right below their sternum so they can feel their actual lungs expanding using diaphragm muscles. There's a big thing to kind of take from this, and that's belly breathing. It's really good to open the actual stomach up. A lot of people love to breathe thinking that they need to keep their Miss America thing going on. No real stomach action happening here, which means you're really not getting the full lungs. So push that baby out. That's what you were trying to work for. So everybody here this evening, we'll go ahead and start. We'll take 7 seconds of a breath in, holding for a few seconds, and now 8 seconds of a breath out. And it should go to a place at the very end where you don't have anything left. 7 seconds of breath in, holding, and 8 seconds of breath out. Just 30 seconds of nothing going on. Just a little bit of space in this. Feel that all the way down in the toes. It's nice. Excellent. Your brain just changes. I love it. It's so funny because even being my own person, it just does a lot of different things for you. It's been about 4 hours since I was actually able to consciously breathe, which is kind of funny. A little too excited today. So Where do we begin? Um, Tonics for energy. People who like to burst awake think that energy comes from sometimes stimulants, caffeine. They think that's a really good way to start the day. Um, Sometimes we kind of believe that maybe B vitamins, again, a little more natural. Um, it's unique because, again, energy technically should come from the functional digestion out of our actual internal absorption process in our intestines. Um, One of the biggest keys in understanding energy, as I gave a class 2 weeks ago called Rev It Up, really good about metabolism boosting. Nothing you eat is actually giving you energy. It gives you the building blocks in order to create ATP, which is used by the cells to go in and function. So we have a lot of people who are a little confused on the idea of, oh, I eat a lot of sugar and I feel like it gives me energy. Yeah, that's because you can finally feel your body doing this. And you're like, that's energy. Well, no, that's not really energy. That's your body actually kind of going through a diabetic spike and waiting to crash back down. Caffeine, same thing. They're like, hey, I drink my cup of coffee. I can finally talk to people in a normal tone. I don't have to yell at them or just give them the look to where you don't have the ability to actually be a part, of the rest of the world. It's funny because, again, we start using these precursors. And one of the big things about 2015 is it's all about the routine. That's kind of my new little focus that's going to go on here for this whole process. It's all about the routine. If you have a routine about using coffee to wake up and actually get your day started, well, that's where your system's going to be and that's how you're going to live. What's funny is you can play around with that and pick a day where you actually just take MSM, which is a really good energizer, really good activator for the body. Or you can start doing things like B vitamins on higher and higher doses in order to find how your body works with B vitamin energy. You can just change the food types. One of the big things that we do in coaching is we actually go through the idea of eating a donut and seeing how that makes you feel, to eating an actual bowl of oatmeal and see how that makes you feel, to eating a raw egg or a cooked egg or anything and see how that makes you feel. Because every food type creates a different response in the human body. It's all about the routines. And this interesting piece is, again, my wife's the person that I use as the best example. She even said it to me twice yesterday, which we're trying to break her out of a few things she's doing. She's a creature of habit. We all are. We want to find good routines, and that's the big thing about going into classes like this, is learning something new and applying it into your body and seeing how that actually takes effect and see what we can do to change ourselves. So when it comes to tonics for energy, it's unique because you should be looking at extremely easy to break down material. That's a big way of getting metabolism to start functioning for us very effectively. We want to look for energizers that actually allow for hyperoxygenation of our bloodstream to where we can actually feel the effects of the breathing like we just did, and that sort of uplifting sort of part where energy can come from that. B vitamins, and then there's herbs. Certain herbs create a faster release of energy from our cells. So when we deal with things like maca, it's known as a good vitality enhancer. It actually creates an overall feeling or the effect of good energy. It's a baseline for starting in and actually allowing the body to feel something different in this routine. Um, Tonics are fantastic for actually adding in oils, which is, again, a better caloric source to take in for most people in order to feel stronger energy for their body. Anybody who's having a drink here tonight or has had a drink would know that most of our mixtures here, most of our shakes, our tonics, actually have at least a tablespoon or two of oil to them. It's what makes you feel full and satiated, to where you're not eating a bunch of carbs and sweets in order to allow your energy to go up and crash back down, go up and crash back down. You're finally getting a nice even keel routine to start happening to where your body feels very stabilized, satiated. And that's one of those things that's very unique about people who are on diets all the time, is they're cutting calories back thinking that's the way to feel like they're actually in control of themselves. And yet usually they just end up feeling restricted and they want to go out and actually eat more things that actually aren't good for them. So as we are looking again at this table, one of the most amazing tonic herbs for good energy stabilization is cordyceps mushroom. So I don't know if we see, here's an actual whole cordyceps, so you can kind of get to look and understand. Does anybody want to know something really interesting about cordyceps? Okay. So there's a parasitic worm that actually lays eggs inside caterpillars. And the caterpillars actually grow the cordyceps mushroom out of their head. And it's very unique that that's where this whole process works. But the funny thing, it's a brain food. Again, it's kind of unique how the operation goes with these little guys and the cultivation of them. But these wonderful little mushrooms do so much for oxygenation of the actual bloodstream that they've been banned by the by the Olympics. In order for you cannot actually consume this prior to your events. The reason being is that the Chinese, of course, knowing what cordyceps mushrooms do, 2000 and I think it was 6 summer games. The whole team, between the world's qualifiers for them to come in and place, shaved about 5 minutes off of their marathon time for just taking in a bunch of cordyceps mushroom and being able to run with better energy. So that's how powerful these particular mushrooms are. We use a lot of good energizers like cinnamon and ginseng, things that are heating, because again, the body that's warm burns better energy. So we can see how these actually come together. And again, I mentioned oils because the idea of a lot of people making berry smoothies and thinking that that's a good way to start the day with some protein, it is nice, but a lot of times people are experiencing diabetic shifts and it causes for their energy to be depleted very quickly. So if you're a person who finds that your routine is you wake up, maybe you have great energy with no coffee, but then you crash about 10 or 11, or you crash at 1, you're starting to see the energy be depleted out of your body. This is a way to kind of build in a nice routine to where you can be more stabilized. So we have really, really good options here, and we can see ways of working with anybody's platform and ideology. I gave a few examples, but the idea is tonic herbs and tonic drinks can work with anybody's health concerns, issues, and try to find ways around things. Detoxification is another great one. Again, anything you're doing routinely that's slightly detoxifying over time will be very cleansing to the entire system and not be the same as what we get whenever we have just a big detox where we do a week of juice fasting or master cleansing or something along this lines, which a lot of times will be a little too extreme, shut us down, not let us actually maintain our overall level of energy. Sometimes we have to take off work if we're detoxing too heavy. And it's something that we have a class that actually focuses just on detoxification, to where it's usually not healthy for the blood and the brain whenever that's the case. When you feel that bad, you're probably not doing something very healthy for your body. So it's a piece in understanding this process. But detoxification items, again, are talking like MSM, TMG, zeolite powders, clay mineral powders. Trying to work on cleansing candida out of the body with Padiarco is a different tea base to start with than the two that we're going to talk about tonight. So again, we're just seeing different functions, different modes of drinking tonics. That's where I think a lot of us have become so happy with this opportunity, because tonics allow us to do whatever we would like to do with our body, instead of just following a very basic, simple diet program and a routine that doesn't change with ourselves. So when it comes to mood support, relaxation, in this country, our biggest problem is we don't relax. I mean, this class started with a breathing technique that takes less than 30 seconds to actually complete, and most people don't even do that. So it's unique when we focus on stuff like that here, because it's hard when most people's lifestyles aren't allowing for the routine relaxation of their bodies, and then they wonder why it's hard to go to sleep at night, or they always have muscle cramps, they always have anxiety sitting inside their body, and that's where we can start working with the other material. Let's see, people who have been here might help. People who are kind of new to this. Does everyone know the one main mineral that helps for relaxation? Good job. Okay, so we're learning. I love this. This is great. So it's amazing when you actually are using topical magnesium in the diet from other sources, but then also finding ways of actually putting better magnesium concentration from things like cacao routinely into our tonics and allowing for those to be an extra step of relaxation just on that basis. Again, when we get into herbalism, we start working with things that actually affect neurotransmitters, that start creating overall body balance. One of the big ones that we use, again, another mushroom, is reishi. So reishi is one of these amazing adaptogenic herbs that actually does a great job at just harmonizing the body. So you don't have too much energy, too little energy. You can be kind of right in the middle and allow for your system to start functioning more effectively. Let's see. Here's another good one. Does anyone here have a guess as to what might be the one reason it's very hard for the human body to fall asleep? Guesses. Guesses. Partially would agree with you. I'd actually say the opposite. Usually they're turned off, and that's why we don't. So I like that conversation. Any other good stabs? Just trying to get the brain moving, trying to get things going. Dehydration. It is very hard for the human body to relax when we feel like we're thirsty. It's one of the single most interesting studies that was done in Austria, to where people were just given 20 ounces, 40 ounces of water compared to somebody taking no water 2 hours before sleep, and how effective and how long their sleep cycle worked and how long their sleep cycle continued. Again, chronic dehydration is the issue that we see a lot of times, mostly in women. Don't know why we don't get a lot of women who drink very effectively, because really hydration makes all your wrinkles go away. Not all of them, most of them. It helps, again, keep the skin plump and full. That actually starts to allow the body to be, and it allows the brain to calm. Your body has a functional survival mechanism inside you that says, if you're thirsty, no laying down. You need to find water. Even though it's literally 15 feet away from you, sitting there in the faucet, you just haven't put it in the cup in the last 6 hours. And it's unique too, because a lot of people always give me the concept of, oh, well, I'm not thirsty. I'll wait to drink till I'm thirsty. There's actually a reverse mechanism that occurs inside the human body that allows you to go long times and long distances without drinking, to where you wouldn't be just going insane. And it shuts that off after chronic dehydration has been set into the body for a long time. So hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And that's where it's amazing that we can actually use tonics as a great way of getting relaxation, because by making a tea, you're going to be taking in a decent amount of liquid when you're actually making this for yourself. So when you get a nightly routine, a nightly ritual of relaxing with a really amazing chaga tea, we're using chaga as the base on the relaxation one, because the chaga mushroom does a fantastic job at doning a compound called melanin, which your body converts to melatonin. And so this is what makes this actual tea liquid very dark, is the melanin that comes from the actual mushroom. So this is one of those great precursors for letting your body start to see that, yes, with the overstimulation of TV and lights always being illuminated, we aren't allowing our pineal to stop its function during the daytime and start reversing the flow and allowing us to absorb melatonin. So it's unique, because that process is definitely something that really, really can work for the body to relax. The second thing that's, I'd say, almost critical for everybody who's trying to find relaxation back in their body is salt. We have a very severe issue, especially in eating the right types of salt, or getting salt at all. We've been told that salt is bad, salt causes heart problems, salt is what creates high blood pressure, and they are correct that when you eat rock salt that's actually not from the ocean, the mineral balance is one that actually does create a lot of hypertension. But when it's ocean salt, sea salt, and it's magnesium rich, relaxation and actually blood dilation starts to occur, and you have better blood pressure than what you would if you didn't have a good salt source. So we use a lot of the really amazing Himalayan Celtic salts, Portuguese salt. This happens to come from Iceland, and it's one of the best magnesium containing salts we've been able to find. So who here always eats dessert? No dessert takers? Everybody's gotten past that? Great. Well, I guess we don't need to talk about it. No, we're going to talk about it anyway, so you can tell other people about this. One of the unique things, and again, maybe dessert was the wrong word to use. Does anybody have any sweets at all after dinner? Okay, see, now we get some takers. One of the unique things is, again, a lot of times for cravings, is that the sugar craving occurs whenever we're lacking amino acids from our protein intake. So when it comes to a lot of relaxation that's necessary from things like tryptophan and L-theanine and a lot of these really good materials that allow for our body to calm itself, um, protein lacking is actually one of the big reasons why we would go to eat something sweet afterwards. So whenever you're looking for that, or maybe you're a person who has a lot of willpower, so you don't eat a dessert, but you have the craving, and you're just sitting there, waiting for one little M&M, hoping that that's all you get for this evening. Whatever it might be that you're sort of doing to yourself, follow your cravings. They're telling you something. They're helping you go through this process of understanding your body. And tonic herbalism will allow you to fix this because you can actually take in something that's a little bit of a sweetener, like goji berries, or something that has a nice natural kind of sweetness like the rice bran solubles. Um, Again, it's unique because when you really start to understand your system, you get to a point where you finally feel like you can be in control, and it's okay to have a tablespoon of honey. Yes.
So you said a lack of protein oftentimes is like
For sure. Yep, for sweets. And again, survival mechanism goes back into place here. The idea that we would usually get big protein feasting meals every 3 to 5 days if we were really successful at our jobs of being hunters, and providing food for, in general game. The idea was during the meantime, you'd be eating berries and roots and very tiny little sweet items until you found the next big game meal. So our bodies are pretty programmed to that. That's the cycle we kind of go through. That's the normal routine. So when we were trying to develop this process, and it is unique because grains kind of come in for a lot of people as a secondary or tertiary sort of sweetener substitute. So we think snacks in that way are actually not quote unquote sugar containing, but they all break down to sugar. So it is the same thing that when you're craving something really crisp, or potato chips or anything like that, there's a salt piece in it as well too. But snacking a lot of times in general is just the idea that proteins are not being satisfied. So do we want to start mixing stuff up? Any other questions?
Joe, if you were having a high carb meal, then adding proteins would kind of stabilize you.
Correct. Correct. So it does stabilize. Depends on the carbohydrate, obviously. Things like quinoa, again, that are balanced for the body. So you actually get a longer overall profile from the energy of just even quinoa being the main grain. Or if you've got a combination of good fibrous vegetables with things like beans and legumes and things of that nature as well, you can see pairing start to actually create sustained energy. Um, I know we talked about the idea of waking up and having the bursting energy of a cup of coffee in order to feel like we're actually in our good levels. It's unique because a lot of times the way we eat the night before is what sets our energy up for the morning when we wake up. So if we maybe didn't have a full meal at the end of the day, that's going to set us up the next time that we wake up in order to actually be searching for something quick and easy for energy. Versus the idea that if you had a nice plentiful meal that really left you satiated, that was really well balanced, and one of the ways that we try to create this as a good routine for people is break your plate in half. Put half of it as raw vegetables, material that you can actually just eat as it is found. Can be fruits, can be things of that nature, to where there's no cooking involved. This actually stops a lot of the autoimmune response from eating food. And then the other half of the plate is divided by protein and carb in the fractions that you try to find yourself in half. So if you're eating about 4 to 6 ounces of good protein, about 4 to 6 ounces of really good carbohydrate that have a good structure for your body and no reactions in terms of allergens. And then the rest of it's actually all fresh fixed material, salads, fruit material, things like that, stuff that's not cooked. It is kind of the nice way to start balancing the body out. People who are high raw diet eaters, that kind of changes around because you're probably doing that for a reason, um, in order to actually see your health, improve. If you're taking on a diet trend and it's not working, go back to the way you were eating before and figure out a way to modify it. Again, that's where coaching is so amazing because we can try out the idea of eating a high carb diet, a high protein diet, a high fat diet, and see what works best for each person because everybody's different. And a lot of times when it comes to couples, the unique thing as well too is that you're not the same. And a lot of times couples will eat the same and then their bodies will actually react completely differently, and it can be health detrimental to the one partner or the other. So that's kind of the unique thing that always goes on. I'm definitely a 2-3 meal type of day person, body style. So I'll have a big shake in the morning, a really nice dip in the evening. Whereas my wife's the type that literally can only have one small meal first in the middle portion of the day. So we don't eat much together. She sits with me and we try to talk and play with the kids as best we can. But the idea is we've understood that our body types are different. And so it's okay to kind of establish that for yourselves as we go deeper into the understanding for things. So, are we in a good place? Ready? What's so funny? No? Come on, share. Yeah, exactly. Give yourself, follow your own intuition. Let yourself kind of change the way you're going to go. So, do you guys have a preference? Do we want to start with energy? Do we want to start with mood? Energy? You want to leave calm? Oh, okay. So, good job. Base tea here is Spring Dragon. One of the nice things about using the Spring Dragon as the base is that it's usable on all platforms. Really, there's not too many people who are going to have really any issues with Spring Dragon. Gynostema is the base of this, is the actual plant that's used to make the tea. It's a grass. Very different than green teas and things of that nature. And we're trying to get people to see the way most of the green tea is actually procured in China, harvested and dried and preserved and then sent over, is a lot of heavy metal material goes into it, mainly to keep pests and material off of them, and then you put it into your teapot and brew it, and all of those heavy metals go into what you're making. It's unique because I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they kept saying, "Oh, I get this reaction from quinoa. I don't like quinoa." And I go, "Well, how many times do you rinse it?" And they go, "You're supposed to rinse it?" Yes, there's a lot of dirt and dust and crazy stuff that goes on to quinoa when you harvest quinoa, and it very rarely gets pre-washed before it shows up here. So a lot of people are literally eating a very high amount of either Bolivia, Mexico, or Peruvian soil on top of their quinoa and having an allergenic reaction to it. Because that's not where you're from, so of course your body has an issue with what's going on there. So the Spring Dragon is a really nice base because it kind of covers just about everybody. So one of the things that I'll say is that tonics are different for every person. We're going to make a very basic kind of cover everybody sort of tonic today in order to let everybody kind of sample and taste out. But that's going to be a part to where when you go home and you try to recreate this for yourself, see what energy level you feel like you need to kind of obtain for your body whenever you're trying to get energized. Again, even, yes, even one of the unique things is that we have two different styles of maca. We have the actual raw macas, and then we have macas that have been cooked and actually pre-digested technically by by a pressure cooker. And so this becomes a really nice way of getting into understanding how even just a simple change of that can actually go through. Do we have the larger ones? The ones there's like a 4 ounce. So with the recipe I have here, we're going to do approximately a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half per 10 ounces of water. So the way this is going to blend out as we finish this all up is going to be just about a tablespoon of the maca. Maca, again, this is the food of the people from the Peruvian mountains. They literally, on average, will be anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 foot elevation increase per day. They'll walk anywhere between 15 to 25 miles. Average. That's what they do. So anybody who's like, I went to the gym and I ran my mile on the elliptical, I got my energy in. That's the unique part about being in America, is that we actually love to think for some reason that that's enough. When a lot of times we really need to see things start to work and be a little more energetic for us. Wonderful. Thank you, Mike. What, Novana White action? I mean, come on. Where's the energy?
I walked out, I set it down, and I walked out. That's exactly what Vanna White does.
No, she does a turn. She's always smiling.
Oh,
So
okay.
you need an energy drink. Yeah, exactly. The next piece of this is that we're going to add in here is called rice bran solubles. The rice bran solubles, again, is something that's very interesting for a lot of individuals because the amount of brain nutrients that are kept inside the rice bran is actually very extreme. Glutathione, CoQ10, alpha lipoic acid, B vitamins, a lot of the vitamin E in both sides. And the nice thing about rice bran is for gluten sensitive individuals, this is actually gluten free. This is just the outer hull of the rice. And we're going to put enough in here to where we actually do just about 2 tablespoons per 10 ounces of liquid. So that's going to help us actually get a lot of the overall brain nutrients. So a lot of times that's the main reason we kind of feel like we don't have any energy. No, there is a rice bran protein that actually is a secondary byproduct of this process producing the solubles. So there is one out there. The main issue that we see a lot of times with rice proteins is that they're not complete in their amino acid profile like we were talking before. So you end up having a little bit of stabilization issues. That's why a lot of times you see rice and pea mixed together, or rice and hemp, or other style of protein mixed along with it. So we end up having that piece in this. So cordyceps mushroom, the way to cheat yourself into the Olympics, right? What's nice about the cordyceps is we're actually going to do just about a teaspoon per 10 ounces, so that's going to be about 6 tablespoons here. So cordyceps is going to give us the nice push to the bloodstream. A lot of people, myself included, you can actually feel this effect from the body by literally getting a tingling sensation in the upper portion of the skull. Finally letting you know that you're getting oxygen to all the different parts of the bloodstream and actually feeling it. So with the cordyceps, just about a teaspoon and a half. Again, we don't want to all turn into super athletes right away. So we're going to also bring in what we call our vitality blend. This is a mixture of ginseng, astragalus, dongguai, a really amazing mixture that actually allows for, again, just better circulation, what we call qi flow, the ability to move energy within the body. We're only going to actually have about half a teaspoon of this per 10 ounces. So when you're making this for yourself, kind of keep that in mind as you go. And so ginseng, again, fantastic energy doning material. Really good for getting the overall heart muscles pumping, everything working for us. And again, I'm going to bring over sunflower lecithin is another great vitamin E donor, as well as a great brain nutrient, adding a compound called choline. So again, one of the unique things about energy is a lot of people feel like they don't have enough energy, even though the main issue is their brain's just tired. They're not processing material. They've got brain fog occurring. So we're going to do about a tablespoon of this one per 10 ounces. And this is sunflower lecithin. So for everybody out there who's been trying to find a way to keep completely soy-free, this is one of the really nice ways of doing that. It adds a really good sort of nutty silkiness to any tonic that you actually are making in order to see a good change. And diabetic safe. So for people who have issues when it comes to blood sugar, xylitol is a really nice pH balancing system. I'm just going to add in about 2 tablespoons of this. What's amazing with the sugar alcohols for a lot of individuals is that it actually brings a really good pH balance from the birch tree. And the unique thing is that the chaga mushroom that we have on the other side of the room actually does a fantastic job at pH balancing. So it's very interesting. The chaga mushroom grows on the birch, and then this is actually the sugar that comes away from the birch tree that mushroom is probably being saprophytic for. So it's actually tearing that apart and using that as an energy source. So we can do the same thing too. Again, we can add oils to this. I'm going to hold off on the oils tonight. You can add in additional herb material for overall flavor profile. If you like things more on the cinnamon side, if you want things to be a little more on the ginger side, you can really work with this in any way you'd prefer to kind of get it to your own flavor profile. So just check to see if it feels like it needs anything fun. I'm already sensing just a little bit. Let me see here. Everybody like vanilla?
Yes.
Vanilla, a good one? Needs a little vanilla. One of the unique things about energy for people is that, again, when it comes to tonics, you can literally keep curtailing this every single time you make it. You can come up with your own special recipe that actually, makes you think, okay, I've got this one down. This one seems to do exactly what I'm looking for, and not change it past that point. Making menus for a person who spends every single day in the kitchen, trying to we're just putting in about 2 teaspoons, so that's close to an eighth of a teaspoon probably for 10 ounces, just to give the vanilla sort of flavor. Um, and that's where the main thing to keep in mind is just to be always having a good time.
How much did he say overall ounces do you have to do everything?
So I would set yourself up on like 10 to 12 ounces as you start to kind of figure out what's the best way for you to sort of feel the good effect of your own tonics. Total of about 30, 35 ounces in here. So I tried to break everything down into tenths. So, everybody, feel free. Evelyn, are you going to try this? On a little bit. Don't want to pick you up too much. The other thing that's nice about tonic herbalism and doing tonics on a routine basis is that the actual amount of heat that's being exposed to all the nutrients that is in here is minimalized. Just a little. So that actually preserves a lot of those really important, especially brain nutrients, when it comes to actually allowing the body to go through the process of absorbing all of these great things. And allowing it to be warm, of course, is going to increase the overall absorption and metabolism in the system. So as we're kind of trying to move through this, I just got cut off on the just now. So this is where I need my vanity. So, as in all great things, critiques, pieces, parts. Who likes that? Who thinks that that's actually working very well for him? Needs chocolate. Everything needs chocolate. Of course. That was the one thing that I'm like with the stevia. Again, it's very interesting to me that people a lot of times feel like they need a recipe. They don't go off that intuition sort of system. But tonight we're learning basics. This is a great start. This can go anywhere from here, and it can be added to a very large amount of protein if you want it to be the way you start your day with a protein shake, if that is the way you want to begin. And you can literally take every one of these oils, throw in the cacao, throw in the peely, allow for these different flavors to be a part of it. Let this be the way that maybe your 10 o'clock is better for you instead of an 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock drink. Some people, again, need that big pick-me-up around the 1 to 2 mark. And this is sometimes going to be that nice way of donating good energy to their body instead of actually being something where they use this as their wake-up material. and it works with all different styles and phases and shapes. So when I'm cleansing or detoxing in a certain particular way, trying to design an actual basic shake that works exactly with what I'm going through is really the best function. It's why I think I like this process so much more than the idea. And although we have, like our Rev 1, an all in one meal replacement, most companies, that's what they give you. You get one bag, that's all your options. You can't change anything about the contents to it. You can't decide today I feel a little more fruity, tomorrow I want a little bit more, bitters, do whatever you might need to do to kind of move it around for yourself. So I'm big about options. So I'm the type of person when I order off a menu, I ask about all the little details. Can you leave out that? Add some mushrooms, do some of this. Let's get some extra butter in here. Okay, fantastic. And that's the great way I love about using the actual tonics.
So with something like this, say you have an activity going on for the day,
Mm-hmm.
is this something you can mix up and
Carry it with you.
later?
Oh yeah, of course. Again, the only piece about that is that this is very different than say like a yogurt based shake, where obviously it would need to be refrigerated. With tonics, what's great about these, especially if they're kept inside, we don't have any of the little guys here. The Myron glass jars, I'll literally have one of those in the car, and it'll be in there 5 6 hours before I'll go and take anything into it. The only thing I would caution people is if you add a lot of chia seed, it's going to get very thick. Um, so that's kind of the longer it sits, the more it turns to jelly. But the idea is you can kind of see how there's options here. And you don't. Again, I had a conversation today with somebody who was concerned about having butter on their sauteed vegetables and not putting it directly in the fridge, that it was going to spoil. And I like had to caution them and understand. I'm like, we didn't have refrigerators 60, 80 years ago. We did okay because we actually knew how to cook our food and process it. And again, it wasn't so much of a big deal to get a little bit of bacteria and actually have our foods be helping our digestive systems and our overall immune system keep its operation. Your body, whether you want to or not, checks every bit of food that goes in your mouth in order to see if there's bacteria in it and what style and type are present. And then if it feels there's a bad reaction, supposed Chinese buffet food poisoning, it'll very quickly remove it from your body if it decides that's not a good food for you. So it's unique how we have these mechanisms that actually exist to protect us, and they help us get through any kind of issue our body would come in, and we just don't trust ourselves anymore. That's, I think, what we've lost in the last 50, 60 years is that we have innate capabilities that actually allow us to maintain health with no doctors, no refrigeration, and literally living completely off of a land-based, and again, I love the way that when you go into cultures that actually do full 100% utilization of all food products to where you watch them how they can process one animal or one harvest of whether it's a grain or a vegetable, and they use every single bit of it all the way down to where there's nothing left. It's amazing watching people do that instead of our concept of the blue dumpster out there gets 60% of all the food created at McDonald's every single day. Their average per store is somewhere about 20, I think it's like 23,000 pounds per month of wasted food just tossed out. It's crazy. But they have standards and they have to throw everything away within 6 to 9 minutes, and that's the way it goes, and they're not going to do anything different. And I guess it's technically for safety, but the idea is why be so wasteful? So keep in mind as we're kind of going through this next one that the actual tonic creation, if you want to be more balanced and not just be full of energy, again, I don't know if everybody here is kind of like me. I feel just about everything I take into myself within about 15 seconds. That's about as long as it takes for my blood to register what's happening. And so an energy drink like that, I'm going to be a little bouncy for a little while. But it's a good thing. So trust me, we'll have fun with this. So as that second page kind of allows you to sort of detail out, you can make some notes on the fact that we're using the chaga tea base here. The main reason on the mood balancing and stabilization tea of using the chaga is because we actually are in a short supply of melatonin for most people. The sad part is a lot of people take encapsulated melatonin that's actually not human created and not specifically created by your body for you. So this is where a lot of people will get over droggy, very tired, will lose, their sleep function for 2 or 3 days trying to adjust by using melatonin from someplace else. It's an exogenous hormone.
But actually, when I have taken it,
Hmm.
it kind of wakes me up
Yeah,
through the night.
instead of actually allowing you to sleep. And the unique thing is two parts. One, your body starts producing melatonin at whatever time you open your eyes first thing in the morning. And it creates a store of melatonin all day long until eventually, and everyone can know that this is what happens, you go, and you finally have this tired moment. And that's when your melatonin literally starts being consumed. And everybody who watches themselves and watches their patterns, they'll start to go, oh yeah, that happens at like 7:45 every night. What is that? Your body's actually telling you that now you should start to cycle down. You should be ready, preparing. Most of us, including myself, the biggest problem I have is I'm up until 10, 12, 1, 2, whatever it might need to keep my jobs functioning, my family functioning, everything else going. So that's that unique thing. When you take melatonin at 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock, you're not using it. It's still taking 6 hours for it to actually get in your body for it to do anything, and it's not even your own. So that's where if you took it at say noon and had a bump of melatonin, you might see better balance. So that's one of those unique things I tell a lot of people who I work with who are more of the jet setters. They love to travel, especially against the actual time zone change. Then I usually say take it as soon as you land and about 5 hours before you want to sleep. And that way you're not experiencing that to where you take it and you're like, I wake up after I take it. What's going on? It's because your body hasn't even begun to break it down and actually utilize it. And then usually, like I say, you're overtired.
Joe, how are you making the Chinese tea base?
So the chaga tea is really simply made on a stovetop. That's the way the Russians would do it. That's the way anybody who is, native to the area near Siberia, where chaga grows very effectively. You just throw it into a stock pot full of water. We boil ours every single day and just let it actually simmer and stir. For people who are more on the go, you have the actual chaga powder, kind of like the reishi powder that's right here. And this will let you make instant chaga tea. Instead of having to do the long boiling process. So we're lucky here because we're a tonic store, so we can do that all day long. But it's nice whenever you have the opportunities just to do it for yourself. But we actually, boil just chopped up whole chaga mushroom, just like what we see as we go through this. This is the way a chaga grows. The backside here is the attachment point where you can see it was on a tree. This is the bark of the birch right here, and this is the mushroom that technically grows up on the outside of it. So we're eating and consuming mostly the actual blackened portion here, which is where all the nutrients are found. So that's your tea base, and again, fantastic for the human body. There's a very wonderful book out there written called Chaga, King of Medicinal Mushrooms by David Wolfe. It's about 250 pages of nothing but why chaga is probably one of the most amazing adaptogenic herbs for the human body to be consuming on a routine basis. Not to displace reishi mushroom and all the effects that it has on the human body as well too, but definitely something where we really want people to start understanding the magic and the power of eating and using mushrooms on a routine basis. So we are going to make, on top of the chaga tea, a very wonderful and kind of simple but basic tonic mocha by using the 100% raw cacao and starting with that as a nice mixture here. Average person, and again, depends on how much of a chocolate lover you might be, average person about 1 to 2 tablespoons per 10 ounces. If you're a really big chocolate lover, then go up to 4 or 5. The benefits only get better as you take in more. This is not your Hershey's chocolate that you have to worry about causing problems. That's been completely changed around, alkalinized, and Dutched in a process. So we're going to be putting in, like I say, just about two tablespoons per 10 ounces. What's that? This is cacao. Cacao, sacred fruit of the trees in South America. Man. And it's so many good things for the body. It's actually a neurotransmitter balancer. It does a great job at actually allowing for all of the endorphins, the ectomorphins, all of the actual adrenaline complexes, dopamine, serotonin, melatonin, all of those to start being stabilized. It has a compound in it called theobromine, yes, that is similar to caffeine. For some people, you can be extremely sensitive to it, and it could be just as energizing as taking in coffee. But for a lot of people, it's actually very relaxing. Very high dose of magnesium, lots of antioxidants. So, like I say, we're going to make a mocha without having any of the coffee. And the way we're going to do this is we're actually going to use the coffee fix base that we actually have. This is just an herbal root and tea-based blend. We're going to do about 3 tablespoons here total for the 10 ounces. And again, that's going to kind of create a nice overall flavor profile and get it really kind of similar and used to what most people like. And again, I'm a person who literally can drink um, a pot of coffee right before bed and go right to sleep, no issues. So most people aren't like that. That's kind of hard for them. But for me, what's unique is that by putting in the coffee fix, it kind of makes me feel like I'm having something that I really enjoy any time of the day without any of the negative sort of drawbacks that occur from people trying to consume caffeine right before sleep. Um, so this is the most interesting herb, I would say, that we're going to work with when it comes to mood balance. Mucuna is a fantastic material. Mucuna perines is in vine, and we actually are eating the seed pod that comes off the vine. We're going to start off at about half a teaspoon, really, truthfully, per 10 ounces. And we're just going to go a little slow. This is mucuna. And so the Mucuna does a great job because one of the biggest pieces that we're missing in the American lifestyle is this compound called dopamine. Dopamine is the thing that actually allows for us to enjoy a habit, which is why most people who do illicit drugs, they get into the habit of doing it routinely. That's the problem with it, is that it releases dopamine every time they go through the ritual and through the habit of taking in the substance. So the concept is your body actually starts to love the process. And a lot of times you could completely do away with the drug and just do the process, and the same dopamine release would still happen without all the negative effects. It's just kind of funny how people don't understand their bodies well enough to see how this works. But the shortage of dopamine is a lot of times what creates actually high level depression, because your body can never reach euphoria and never be relaxed. This is something that we actually see happening. This is a lot of times nervous conditions and overall people who experience fibromyalgia. A lot of the statin drugs, one of the biggest things that it affects is the actual dopamine stores. And it is a compound that your body will, just like melatonin or serotonin, consume in a large dose and then have none. And this is where we get the withdrawal or the after effects that actually causes the breakdown. Luckily with Mucuna, it has the compound L-DOPA, so it's the actual precursor, and it lets your body start to create its own dopamine on a natural cycle instead of something where you're getting an actual hormone that your body has to just deal with and process inside the bloodstream. So in this mixture, we're also going to do our Serenity blend, which I thought I had out here. So the Serenity blend has a nice mixture of grounding herbs. Jeez. I don't. Serenity. I don't know how we wouldn't have any in the container. We'll not have any back here. So Serenity Blend does a fantastic job. Mark that on the little sheet there, Mike. At allowing for the overall effectiveness to take away anxiety to the human body. Grounding technique, as we were talking, Mike, earlier, is the ability to just be in contact, direct physical contact with the earth. The earth actually puts out something around the order of 1.73 10 to the 23rd energy per square foot. So when it comes to batteries, I mean, you're looking at technically a nuclear power plant every square foot. No one taps into it, mainly because you're all insulated and you can never get a hold of it. And yet it's one of the best energy sources that we are supposed to be in direct contact with all the time. So much so that we actually, and for myself, one of the best things we started doing between me and my wife to intensify our overall sleep cycle was sleeping on a grounded sheet, to where the sheet's actually plugged into the wall and grounded through the house. As long as it's tested positive as being connected to the earth, then you will discharge all the amped up static electricity. And that's one of the easiest ways of telling that you have not grounded in a long time, is that you'll have static surrounding your body at all points with no ability to discharge. And just like every other type of electromagnetic field out there, when you're building that up on your system, your blood vessels, your heart, your brain, everything doesn't work as effectively. So when it comes to herbs that cause a grounding technique, we use things like pearl, a lot of these really good root ribosomes like asparagus root, abiza flower, and again reishi mushroom. So we're going to go a little further. Uh-huh.
What was the quantity of the serenity?
So the serenity is going to be about a teaspoon. So we are going to add in.
Joe, do you think that's why a lot of young people instinctively walk around without any shoes?
Oh yeah, that's the whole
Probably
point.
don't realize what it is.
Yeah, again, the Native Americans had it all right. They just walk around, keep everything going. We're going to do about a half a teaspoon of the reishi, in addition to the serenity, just for a little extra of that nice. And again, the reishi mushroom grows up out of the ground in direct contact. Fantastic conduit, great electrical profile. And what's amazing about reishi is reishi does a great job at balancing the overall immune system, and allowing the overall function inside the lung systems, the livers, and the kidneys, all of the excretory and filtration organs to be benefited. So this is where a lot of people suffer from a lot of blood toxicity. That's the reason that they've never been able to actually focus on those organs to allow the blood to be cleaner. So we can fight blood toxicity in two ways. One, eat a ton of antioxidants and try to find ways of everything you're eating being antioxidant rich, like a cacao powder, like all the berries, all those material. Or we can just improve the quality and the health of our filtration organs, and they will start to take off that heavy oxidation and toxic load and help us out each individual moment of the day. So the other thing that's going to be nice, we have the chaga in here as a nice mood stabilizer for the actual melatonin reserves. One of the beautiful things about camu berry in a very spiritual sort of way is this is actually a serotonin booster. So for when it comes to relaxation and happiness, we're only going to do about an eighth of a teaspoon per 10 ounces on that one. So as we go through this, I'm going to make one last little piece in the puzzle. Again, we talked about dehydration, talked about proteins. Mineralization is one of the biggest drivers in the inability to calm and relax the human body. And that's where we really just want to try to use things. Shilajit is a mineral pitch. It's actually a compound that was formed at the bottom of the ocean that used to exist between India before it crashed into Asia. So as those landforms knocked into each other, this is the old muds that actually existed at the bottom of the ocean. So you have thousands, millions of years of detritus, settling to the bottom, and the minerals from all of those dead materials being concentrated and then pushed up into a rock form that actually gets taken out of the ground just like a salt would. So with that, we're doing just about a 16th, if not less, of a teaspoon. So a very, very tiny amount for the entire tonic here. So, did I break something? Make sure that's down. Everybody have a Vitamix? No. Vitamixes. They're helpful. Very helpful. And as we did before, let's just go ahead and do a quick little sample here. I might need a couple more cups. We might be perfect. I'm not for sure, Michael. It's definitely going to need some stevia. The cacao's got that nice bitter overtone, which is great for the body. I got the xylitol. I'm going to do a little bit of the sweet stevia as well too. So I'm a person who probably doesn't mind at all. Do about 4 or 5 drops of stevia. I know that's not anywhere near what you like, Evelyn, but we're trying to make it for everybody here. Evelyn loves her stevia, and we'll be doing, just get the sweetness level up, about 3 tablespoons of the xylitol here. You can add honey. You can do whatever you kind of prefer. Coconut palm sugar. You can add different types of fruit, monk fruit, lucuma, any of those sort of good sweetener options, goji berries. Um, Again, tonics are amazing because you can do however you'd like to do with them. Chaga Cocoa Magic. Let's see. It is going to be on the dark cacao side, so I hope everybody is enjoyable. You want a little? You can have the stevia right there. Evelyn, give me my own bottle. Oh, of course it does. I know for you. But I don't know if anybody by now in the actual class has the overall effect of something that came from the energy tonic, and they've maybe perked up a little bit by now, to where this might be the nice little answer for the issue that they were experiencing then. Oh, we can grab the. Want it a little sweeter? The overall maca. The maca milk there. More stevia? More sweet? I could put some more sweetener to it. We have we can add some cashew milk to that.
I can taste the shilajit in this.
The shilajit, yeah.
Shilajit.
So here's the other piece. I think as we kind of wrap things up, that's unique. Chinese have a saying: the thing that actually might not taste the best could be the best medicine. So be happy with it in that piece, because the nice part about this is that hopefully everybody does go home and have a little bit of better relaxation. If they all of a sudden get home, and I apologize, they can't just stay up and do some crosswords, read a book. That's the one thing I've actually come to know about myself that's very unique compared to a lot of people, is that I kind of enjoy insomnia every so often. It's not good when you do what it's doing all the time, but every so often I get inspired and I want to get more done, and I don't mind it. So many people want to fight it, and that's one of those unique things. Like I say, I apologize on the intensity for the cacao. It's kind of unique. What's that? Just a little portion of salt. So again, it's one of those that this process is, again, so specified towards the individual person. So feel comfortable and happy trying to go through this, with this evening, learning this sort of process. Again, you can take something like this, add in some cacao butter, some grass-fed ghee, throw in even the latte fix or some heavenly hot chocolate, which is a little more flavor profile balanced, some mesquite. You can literally play with this however you want to go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice. I agree. Raspberry tort with that. Yeah, the coconut milk powder would probably be great for a lot of people because they would really like the creaminess and the sweetness in there, to kind of allow that to have a good effect. And again, just to balance that overall cacao. Like I say, this is unique because we're just playing with this process and understanding for a lot of people to come in and be able to, realize that anything you see actually that's on the tonic bar menu, understand what's in it and see what the effects are. Learn to sort of try to play around with it as much as possible. That's the only way that I've been able to kind of get to the confidence level I'm at now, to play around with things and see how things go. And that's where everybody else is kind of looking to do that for themselves. But the big thing here is to understand that this is the medicine style that I feel has a big benefit for a lot of people to be a self-sufficient system. To learn how each of these materials kind of does what they do, and what we're going to promote now is in March. We're going to be starting another one of our 4-week series that we'll be doing called Superfood Academy. And what we're going to be doing during that is allowing people to come in and sort of learn from A to Z every single product we carry, as a fantastic training platform for everyone to say, wow, now I really can begin to do this work for myself. And help other people. Because when you have the ability to say, hey, I've been taking this nice energy boosting tonic and it's been doing fantastic for my body, and I don't need coffee anymore. Someone will, how's that possible? Well, there's this thing called maca does this, and there's this compound that does that. Again, it's kind of unique. It's within about 15 seconds I've already got skin tingles, so it's kind of funky. That Shilajit really does it. I like that stuff. So it's fun to play around with this, to get your confidence level, to ask your questions. That's why we're here. A lot of times I find that, again, I come in and I say, well, how many people have been by today? They go, oh, 10, 15. I'm like, really? That's all? Like, you'd think people would just walk in and ask more questions, like, hey, what, and we do get some people who kind of try to find this out for themselves. But the idea is just be like myself. I'm that person to where I'm just always asking more. What can we learn? What can we do? Where do we go with this? What does that do? Who said, and just really pulling through this whole process of self-discovery.
Excuse me, any of the drinks, do they have any side effects if you're taking some medication?
The only thing that I would say would have any kind of ramification, MSM would intensify the absorption. So it would increase, like if you're taking a medication that has, say, an 8-hour dosage to it, to where it would make it to where you would actually burn it faster in the beginning. So say like an SSRI, which I hope everybody here doesn't have to do one of those. But that would intensify the effect of it, so it would deplete faster out of the bloodstream. So MSM does a fantastic job for anybody who's not on medications, taking allowing for absorption of better nutrients and minerals, and being more energizing. So in conjunction with pharmaceuticals, that usually causes a faster uptake. The only, I'd say, other kind of interaction I think that I've heard is that if you're on blood thinners, which again, I hope you're not, and if you are, let's figure out a way to get you off of them. Omega oils in high dosage and concentrations is a natural blood thinner, which can be a great way to be off of it. But if you're taking a blood thinner and then taking high dose omega oil for anti-inflammatory, then it could actually create bleeding and have those sort of issues as well. So there is always some cautionary tales to all of this. That's one of these big pieces. Like I say, it's a self-experimentation and trial and error process. I don't know for sure across most allergen test panels if there's any opportunity for them to even test a lot of these material inside to know if you're going to have a reaction. One of the big pieces I always say, again, Chinese emperors would do this. They would actually have a small portion of any item before they ate it put on the bottom lip to see if there was a reaction. It's one of the easiest ways to test if you have an allergen to some sort of food you're in contact with. The unique thing is once you drink something inside the body, it's hard to pull it back in terms of not having it have a reaction. So if it has any kind of irritation, swelling, blistering, breaking of the skin, anything like that to the lower lip, then that's a pretty good indication you shouldn't be drinking it, because that's going to be happening on the inside. So anytime you try something new, keep that in mind. But whatever it might be, yeah, just let it touch and I mean, you can do that. I mean, I know a lot of people who are allergic to bees, but they can eat bee pollen. So the amount of toxicity, but if I give them Manuka honey, that's completely the opposite, because Manuka has a high dose of bee venom. So you can see those reactions occur differently. And let's see, what did I get the phone call for the other day? Oh, there was a woman who I talked to about 3 weeks ago and had started taking, I think it was the TMG compound. and had scheduled to go in and see her doctor because she's like, I don't know what's going on. I can't stop peeing. She was urinating about every half hour or so, and she called me and I'm going to go to the doctor. I just wanted to let you know, I've been working everything else, and I can't wait to see you and talk about whatever the doc. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the TMG reaction. Detoxification is something that happens when you have a healthy body naturally. What commonly occurs inside the human system when we don't have enough minerals and nutrients is we're not detoxifying. So things like TMG, MSM, zeolite powder detoxify. Again, if you're inadvertently trying to create better health and you start detoxifying, that's something we do see. So it's unique. Things like the silica power, from Positive Power here, creates a little bit of a detox reaction. Mega Hydrate can do that. Crystal Energy, even just finally getting enough healthy fats in the body to turn the liver on, can create a little bit of a detox as well too. Um, Iodine's another one. Again, when she was asking about medications, I work with a lot of people who are on thyroid medication routinely, and iodine's something that's always a big concern. You just got to go slow. You got to be gentle with your body. So there is the potential for this to replace your thyroid medication, which is what I'm hoping for. That's why we do this, is actually healing the human body. And that's very funny to me because I get a lot of people who will have their blood testing with their endocrinologist show that their thyroid's now active, and then they say stop the iodine because it's not letting the medication work. And I laugh every time I hear that, and yet I have a lot of people who believe that. And so they stop their iodine, and then they go back to no energy, no immune function, and their thyroid not working anymore. So we're trying to create holistic health and healing here. That's why we do what we do. That's why these products exist. In the natural medicine world, this is, I think, the best system that we have. No laboratory rats harmed in the production of Shazanderberry. So why not? But again, it's one of those where be comfortable, ask questions, talk about it, research it yourself, come back with, I love hearing details from people. Question?
Is there a reason why you wouldn't want to detox from sugar and chocolate?
Well, because it's just sad. You have to get rid of both. That's like taking away coffee and alcohol, or coffee and cigarettes at the same time. No, it's mainly because it's very hard for the human body to kind of separate the two. It's unique because cacao actually can help you get over sugar and actually get something to where with coconut oil and a little bit of xylitol, you can take sugars generally out of the body, especially processed sugars, while still having your chocolate fix. And that's okay because there's medicine in the cacao that's actually good for the body while you're trying to reprogram your system, versus cutting them both. And again, I'm huge about the idea of not depriving yourself of really anything. If it makes you happy, then that's honestly the best thing for you. You can do it in a better way sometimes. So that's where, like I say, this is different than your Hershey's chocolate. That's usually not good for the human body. But true raw cacao is fantastic. It's just tough for a lot of people because when they give up two things they love at the same time, they're addicted to the sugar. They can have the cacao if they just get rid of the bad sugars. So there's no reason to not like that. I send my boys to bed almost every single night with a tablespoon or more of nice medicinal chocolates. And again, it's just because I see the effects of how it allows relaxation. They go to sleep perfectly. They snore. They're totally happy, and they wake up the next day and they actually have good happy dreams about stuffed animals and all this fun stuff. So so far no issues there. But we just want to be in control of our systems. That's what we're trying to teach here. We want people to be in control of their health. Happy, wonderful, healing in whatever way we might need.
I was going through 40 days of no chocolate,
Uh-huh.
and I was really sitting where I could feel that I was jittery and
Uh-huh.
I was just reading the pills and
Poor Phil. Poor Phil. You could have had some raw cacao and it'd been fine. With Stevie. Mike?
Joe, just clarify. You make the tea using the actual mushroom,
Correct.
boiling it. You said earlier, trying to get recipes, for me to make the chaga tea, to use the reishi powder.
No, the chaga powder.
Oh, chaga.
I only had the reishi here as the example, but we have a chaga powder usually in stock that lets you make the instant chaga tea. So that helps. Yes.
My thing is to make smoothie. You're talking about something that's more purist and more,
Mm-hmm.
and more healthy. Mine is based on nut milk.
Oh yeah.
And then instead of making nut milk with vitamins, and then I add these many ingredients. Plus I add rice protein.
Uh-huh.
And sweet
Mm-hmm.
or on cereal.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
With of course plenty of what.
Mm-hmm. Lots of stevia.
Yeah.
No, and it's exactly right. You can make your own. We do the cashew hemp nut milk here. You can do the almond milk. If you want to have that process be, again, the sky's the limit. That's the great part about this whole process. And there's just a ton of things to realize that we can control in our human health with these tonic herbs. So, any other big questions for this evening? Happy go lucky. I know you stepped out. I did mention the other potential interaction between people who are on thyroid medications and when they begin iodine. Correct. If they begin an iodine regimen and how it can sometimes affect their results in a healing step. Western medicine doctors see the function of the thyroid once you're on medication as being not what they're trying to create. So slowly but surely, the ISL will replace and be the natural way of healing the thyroid. So that was another one that.
Yeah, because that's what I think is essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want.
What's your milligram dosage right now? 112. So what's nice about starting an iodine regimen is eventually that could come back down to 80, then it can go back down to 40, and then it can be completely gone.
I would like that.
And so, correct, very much so. And a lot of that's, again, lack of immune function, overall hormone imbalance, skin impairment, a lot of other. Yep. Heart, yeah. So we want to really find the ways to get our body back into its own natural health. And again, most of the time, it's very rare that you have a synthroid deficiency that once you start taking synthroid, and that's one of my big things about trying to be very proactive towards correcting of all the thyroid issues, is I've never heard of anybody actually taking thyroid medication and healing their thyroid or not needing it anymore. Never happened. So that shows it's not my cup of tea. Or tonic. Yep. Very rare. Again, I love the fact that in the diabetic counseling centers, they tell you that you're just going to eventually end up injecting yourself with insulin. And as soon as that doesn't work, we're going to put the PICC line in and we'll just be giving it to you all day long anyways. And they go, that's how it works. That's just the natural progression. And I go, well, wait a minute. What about all those Joe Cross guys and, the different people who've shown to be champions of getting away from diabetic medication and of actually not needing them at all? So what did they do different? Well, they just controlled it with diet. They got a lot of good herbs. They found ways to balancing, and they stopped eating a lot of processed sugars. So thank you, everybody. Well, one more. Of course.
So if I want to do something a little healthier and start with tea like this, this one, smoothie has its applications
Right.
time for the day, and then so with this, would you say this would be a nice afternoon drink, or morning, or is it just depend on the individual?
Depends on the individual and depends on the contents. So like you say, we had something here that's really good for just energy stabilization towards the afternoon, without being something that can probably keep you awake later in the night, because it's not going to do anything but boost your metabolism, which is fine because that actually can help you. Versus, like I say, this is something very similar to this that I would, and I can already, like just standing here since I started drinking this, I'm already, kind of feeling this like, oh yeah, like I can't wait to go home and put the boys down and go to sleep and, the rest of the day's done. So it's unique because the energy effects of even just switching from one drink to the other within a half an hour changes the way your whole body works. So there's a unique process in understanding that. So it's wonderful, and that's why it's amazing because you can do both, and it can be a part of anybody's healing system. So thank you everyone for coming and joining this evening. It's been wonderful. Like I say, look forward to Superfood Academy starting in March. And if you have any questions about tonic herbs, then we'll see how that goes. Yeah, yeah. Let me grab one. Yep. Yeah. Oh, okay. Fantastic.
My original, I kind of liked it the way it was without it.
So yes, the big one that we had inside the energy tonic was maca, and that's a really, really good material for actually balancing over estrogenation. The other one, though, when it comes to really fighting back, is this balance compound here, and this comes from the passion flower. So passion flower gives us this really amazing compound called chrysalum, and it's actually one of those. It's called an it's an aromatase inhibitor, anti-aromatase. So it stops the production of a natural compound in your body that converts testosterone over to estrogen. So the main issue inside a lot of people being over estrogenized is that they don't realize their body's naturally cannibalizing testosterone to make more estrogen. So progesterone creams, injectable testosterone, hormone replacement therapies that don't have a compound like this to balance the aromatase can just create hyperestrogenation in the body. Take this as a dropper underneath the tongue.
Also, that's passion.
Passion flower.
Doesn't that like relax you too?
Correct.
Kind of like
Yeah, very good. Very good.
this?
Sure. Thank you.